Nicola Sturgeon's covering up Muslim asylum seekers raping children in her care and then covering it up through the police. That's an issue. Saying that or whistling at somebody, that's all my body, my rights. What I say coming out my mouth, my rights to say it, and as in free speech. This is wee Nippy, because she's a control freak, alleged lesbian who beats up her girlfriend, who we're all meant to believe that she's in a married relationship. This would be the words that would come out of a lesbian's mouth. Who didn't want men to interact with heterosexual women, who maybe had an alternative point of view where she wanted to advance her sexuality. If you took these guys away and put Nicola Sturgeon saying these things, then you would see a completely different point of view coming out of this scenario. A lesbian first minister, alleged lesbian first minister, now telling us that what we should and shouldn't say. What we should and shouldn't look at. What we should say in the mirror. We shouldn't buy women a drink. Well, I guess now that women can buy their own drink, especially when men are getting pushed out of jobs, especially white men. Now that we're now told to be uncivil and put women in taxis. We've got a declining birth rate. What is the best solution is for women to go on multiple dates with the one guy and get to know them and find out what that guy's like without having sex. I'm all in favour of that. But this isn't about this. This is about guilt-tripping men from a lesbian Marxist, postmodernist Marxist that we've got for a First Minister.
But it's staring us right in the face.
Well, it's staring us right in the face. In fact, I'll tell you what it is. It's actually in the papers, because if you put it in the Sun, or let's start with the Express. The Express grooming. It's actually in the papers. So maybe we should be looking at wee Nippy and what she's actually doing for the covering up of the failed grooming gangs. Maybe that's what we should be doing. Eh, Nicola? So, oh, there she is there. Groomers victims failed by system as Glasgow exposes Rotherham-style gangs, and report into Rotherham-style grooming gangs in Glasgow exposed a catalogue of concerns about the police, council and NHS managers by Ben Borland. Now, I've already covered this. I don't really want to cover it again, but this is the 8th of March 2015. But this was all covered up. I don't think anybody was actually prosecuted, and I think these kids were actually in care as well. I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm not reading this again because I've already gone through it. You would have to look back on the Guerrilla TV to actually see where I've actually covered. I've covered this in multiple times. So this was, I just want to point out the date in this. So this was the 8th of March 2015. So then we fast forward to the Sun. Grooming asylum. Asylum seekers. And we've got now Muslim MPs and even the leader of the Labour Party who's a Muslim not addressing this. So now we skip forward to the 27th of January 2020. Vile gang, Police Scotland took down large-scale Muslim child rape gang in Glasgow but kept it secret. All right, I see, but we've to get lectured. Right. Of course. On things that aren't actual things. This is just completely coercive control and gaslighting by wee Nippy, the alleged girlfriend beating a lesbian. Childless.
Minister.
Good morning, my lady. May I please call Rachel Elizabeth Lloyd?
I do solemnly,
I do solemnly,
sincerely and truly declare and affirm
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Please.
Can I check that you're commonly known as Liz Lloyd?
I am indeed.
There is a few preliminary matters I want to discuss with you before we get to the substance of your evidence. Can you keep your voice up, and can you speak slowly, because there's a stenographer that is taking the evidence. And if any of my questions are unclear, please say so and I can repeat or rephrase. You've provided two statements to the inquiry. The first, and both of these statements are dated the 15th of November 2023. The first statement is on screen. This is INQ 000274006. And this is a statement that explains your role in the Scottish Government's response to the pandemic. I understand that there was a correction that you wanted to make at paragraph 13?
Paragraph 13, yes. There's a fairly, I hope, obvious typographical error. I have used the date late 2020, early 2021, when that should be late 2019, early 2020.
I think it was obvious to the inquiry that you were talking about 2019 into 2020. So subject to that amendment, can you confirm that this is your statement?
It is.
And are the contents of this statement true to the belief of your knowledge, true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
They are.
There's also a second statement that you gave to the inquiry, which is also dated the 15th of November 2023. This is INQ 000274004. And this is a statement about the use and retention of informal communications, such as WhatsApp messages. Can you confirm that this is your statement?
It is.
Are the contents of this statement true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
They are.
Thank you. I want to move on now to discussing your professional background before we get to your role during the pandemic. You were employed as a special advisor to the Scottish Government from January 2012 to, I believe, the 23rd of March 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then after a short break, you were back in post as a special advisor from August 2021 to around the 28th of March 2023. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you served as the Chief of Staff to the then First Minister of Scotland, Nicolair Sturgeon, from January 2015 to the 23rd of March 2021.
Yes,
Is that
that's
correct? And then you returned to the Scottish Government, as we've said, in August 2021. And this time your role was as Strategic Political and Policy Advisor to the First Minister within the Special Advisor team. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you remained in that role until the resignation of Nicolair Sturgeon as First Minister of Scotland at the end of March 2023, at which point you also chose to leave government. Is that correct?
That is indeed.
And you now work in the private sector, I understand.
Yes, I do.
And I want to turn to ask you about the role of special advisors more generally before we get to your involvement in the pandemic. There is a special advisor's code of conduct. Is that correct?
There is, yes.
And this describes the role of a special advisor as adding a political dimension to the advice and assistance available to ministers. And the code notes that one of the reasons for the role is to reinforce the political impartiality of the permanent civil service so that the political advice can come from the special advisors as opposed to the permanent civil servants. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Professor Paul Kearney gave evidence in week 1 to the inquiry. And in his report, he says that special advisors are appointed by the First Minister personally, and ultimately the responsibility for the management of the special advisors rests with the First Minister. Is that your understanding?
That is correct. I would say the day-to-day management of the special advisor team is delegated to the Chief of Staff.
Yes, but ultimately
responsibility
rests with the First Minister. In your first statement, you say, and I'll simply quote at this stage, special advisors